Hi and welcome to this short introductory video to the Digital Applications Support SVQ, so Scottish Vocational Qualification at SCQF Level 6. So this is for the Diploma in Digital Applications Support at SCQF Level 6. There's a bit of an introduction to the framework, to this qualification, what is it, what's it all about, what you have to do to get this award, and how the framework is split up. And how you'd go about completing it. So if we get started, we have a wee look into it. So first of all, we start with what is an SVQ. So SVQ stands for Scottish Vocational Qualification. This is a competency-based qualification. So it's going to be a bit different to what you would have done from school, from college, or from university, depending on your background. And it's more performance-based. It's more about the skills which you can perform in the workplace. So rather than learning about a theory from a textbook and writing an essay on the benefits, pros and cons of it, it's more about gathering evidence that you're competent at your job, gathering evidence about what skills you've been able to perform in the workplace, and putting together a portfolio of evidence to prove that. So it's about proving the sorts of tasks that you complete as part of your job. An SVQ offers those over 16 paid employment with the opportunity to train for jobs at craft, technician and management level. May not necessarily be the case that anyone doing an SVQ has come straight from education, so from school or college. Might be that there's people who have had a bit of experience or who have worked in different job, or who have moved role, or who require a bit of upskilling, a bit of training within the role that they're currently in to do their job at a more advanced level, in which case SVQs are also suitable for them, for you if that's your situation, as it's about gathering that evidence that you're competent, you're able to perform these tasks, and that can really help demonstrate that you can perform those tasks at that level. But it can also allow you to have an opportunity to look to complete tasks that are a bit more of a reach for you, a bit more advanced, and to gain a bit of experience completing those as well. So modern apprenticeships are developed by Sector Skills Councils, abbreviated to SSCs. They consult with employers and key partners in their sector to produce a training programme which meets the needs of employers. So Sector Skills Councils are made up of people from the awarding body, which in this case is the SQA. They're also made up of key employers, so normally they're quite large employers within the industry that the SVQ is relevant to, and they consult with them to produce units, and then they group the units together and put it into a framework. And within each unit you've got performance points, so things which someone who's doing that role would have to be able to demonstrate to be competent at it. So that allows these units to be fairly up to date with what employers would expect someone completing that role to do. So they should be up to date. That's where these units come from. And it meets the needs of employers. It's a vocational competency-based qualification, so like I said there, it is about your performance in the workplace. It's not about learning theories. Any knowledge point that you cover for this award should be within the context of your employment, of the job that you're doing. It shouldn't just be it's something that could possibly be done. It's something that you actually do, or you experience that is relevant to you. It's knowledge that's relevant to your job or your organisation. And within an SVQ, it's broken down into three components. So the first component is a Scottish Vocational Qualification, or an SVQ. This award is the Diploma in Digital Applications at SCQF Level 6. You've also got the core skills, which is the second component, and the third component is your industry-specific training, sometimes called your enhancement units, and that is the third component of it. So a wee bit of an explanation on digital applications, what it is and what it's all about. So a while ago, the SQA, Sector Skills Council and SDS had a bit of a review. They did a bit of an audit, and they realised that there is, in Scotland as a whole, a lack of capacity in the specialist digital and ICT skills that are identified within the workforce as a whole. And to counter this, they produced this framework. They realised that a lot of jobs are going digital now. The use of IT is increasing, and they need people within a workplace to be experts or specialists in the use of these IT systems within a workplace. And there isn't any sort of training programme that addresses that. If we look at maybe business administration a little bit and see how that's changed over time, 20, 30, 40 years ago, All business administration was completed using paper-based systems, using filing cabinets. If we look to today's world, most business administration tasks are completed on a computer using various bits of software, using various bits of computer applications. And this framework's really about it's responding to that change. It's responding to the change in the workplace that things are going more digital, and we need Scotland needs a skill set that can respond to that can raise to that to be able to use these different digital applications. So I'm not saying here that digital applications is sort of a digital business admin course as such, but it's just an explanation there of how job roles have changed over time, how the rise of technology has meant that we need these sort of digital skills, these digital roles, and this application framework is focused on roles from a wide variety of backgrounds that use and utilise these digital applications on a computer to make up this skills gap. The number of people employed in ICT and digital technology is forecast to increase by 15% to 84,000 by 2020 and increase further beyond that. And the increasing adaptation of digital technologies by businesses in other sectors creates significant job opportunities for skills in the use of IT. Now, the key word here is the use of IT. That text there comes from the Modern Apprenticeship Framework document that outlines what this award's all about. So, sometimes there's a bit of confusion around, is this programme an IT programme? What is this programme? Is it technical? Is it not technical? This programme, it is about IT. It is about using a computer, but it's about the use of a computer system. It's not about the IT, the technical elements of setting up a network or setting up the software, installing it, all that sort of thing. It's simply about the use of it, the day-to-day use, and that's what the training in this programme's about. If you are in a role which is sort of IT based, it's about setting up computers, configuring computers, repairing computers, programming, that kind of thing, there's another SCQ award which is far more suitable for your job role. This framework is simply about the use of various computer applications, which can be very varied. You could be using word processing software, Excel, spreadsheet software, database systems, project management software, financial software, accountancy software, all these various computer applications. That's not an exhaustive list, and it's about the use of that technology. It's not about the IT, the technical elements of actually getting all set up, that sort of thing. And it's also part of this course is about getting competence and skills in office applications, and office applications means word processing, spreadsheets, presentation software and database systems as well. Okay, so what is it you're going to get out of this award? What are you going to gain from it? So you're going to gain a number of certificates. The first one and the biggest one, what makes this such a big award, is the Modern Apprenticeship Certificate. That comes from completing the Modern Apprenticeship as a whole. So that's your three, we explained, I think it was the second slide there, there's three components to your SVQ, and for completing all three components you'll get your Modern Apprenticeship Certificate. You also will get your SQA certificate. The awarding body for this qualification is the SQA, and you'll get that certificate there for completing the Diploma in Digital Applications SCQF Level 6 for completing the units, correct number of units within that framework. And for the third component, you've got your core skills to complete, and when you complete those, part of what you get with this is your core skill enhancements as well. So that is enhancing the core skills that you already have to a higher level. So you get them as part of your SQA qualification you've done in high school, you've done in college. So the only people who won't have that will be people who did not sit qualifications in Scotland, sat them elsewhere and have since come to Scotland and are doing a modern apprenticeship. If that's the case, you won't have any of your core skills. I'll explain a bit more about that later on when we look at core skills in detail. And the fourth thing you'll get is a portfolio of evidence which demonstrates your competence in your role. So that can be useful in a number of situations. It can be useful for your performance and your development. It can be useful for your monthly one-to-ones to be able to demonstrate what things you've been performing, document evidence, what you perform in the workplace. Useful for yearly reviews, where you can then say, well look, I've got a portfolio of evidence here, proves that I've been able to train on these tasks, to complete these tasks to this level that we set out last year, what was my goals for this year. It could also be useful for tying in with any internal training development you're doing, and also if you're going out to do another job. I've heard of the odd person who's been able to use this, use their portfolio to help with that. Okay, so progression opportunities. So what can you progress on to once you've completed this award? What are the opportunities that are going to be available to you once you complete this qualification? So this isn't an exhaustive list, and this isn't for everyone. So depending on your job, on your industry, on your individual circumstances, some of this will be more relevant than others. To give you an idea of the types of progression routes from this qualification, the first thing, and this is something that everyone should ideally be doing once they complete this award, which is to progress onto your career within your chosen industry in this field. So once you complete it, this award, you'll be into your job and you'll be progressing onto your career in that industry. You may also, in terms of progression, be able to specialise in particular roles. So it's not necessarily about getting promotions up the sort of your organisation's hierarchy, but about specialising in a particular role and having a particular skill set, which is valuable, but it's specialising in a particular role that you've focused on throughout this award. In terms of other SVQs, you could go on to an SVQ Level 8 in marketing, IT, data analytics, project management. You could do, there might be, if your role changes, might be SVQ Level 6 awards that you might want to get into in a different subject if your role changes after a year. If you're still on, if you're doing this track and it doesn't change substantially, digital marketing, IT, data analytics, project management, all at that SCQF Level 8. Potentially you could look to go on to full-time education at college or university, so that's HND or degree courses. So this slide has the SCQF framework. So this framework, this guide here shows you what level this award sits at on the SCQF framework, so you can compare it to qualifications which you could get at universities, colleges or high schools. So this award sits on the column to the far right here, the apprenticeships and SVQs column, and it's the SCQF Level 6 which is on there, so it's equivalent to hires from high school, although there is a lot of credits involved in this and that you get the full diploma. So it's maybe not an apples to apples comparison when we look at hires, because there's a lot more to this award. It's a full diploma than just doing one hire or maybe a couple of hires. So it's more closely related to the HNC, which is SCQF level 7. So it kind of sits in there at the SCQF level 6 mark. Okay, let's have a look at the overview and the different components to this award. So the duration for this SVQ is 9 to 12 months. Now that will vary from learner to learner. Each learner is different, each portfolio is different, each job role is different. So there's no fixed deadline for this, which is also a bit different to if you think of colleges where you've got a set time of year, you start in the programme, a set time of year that you finish. It's not like that with SVQs, and the duration isn't fixed. It's when you're competent to complete all of the units is when this programme will finish. That being said, it's expected that learners will take between 9 to 12 months to complete this award. If you don't get through it in that time, it can be extended, but there's got to be a justification for that, a reason sort of for that delay, and that you are actively working towards completing it, in which case we can extend the expected completion date. Okay, so you've got your modern apprenticeship, so that's the whole awards. That's all the different components. We'll start looking at the three main components in a wee bit more detail. So you've got your Diploma in Digital Applications Support at SCQF Level 6. Now that contains 60 credits total, so you need 60 credits to get that section of your modern apprenticeship. Credits are essentially learning hours, basically. That's what credits stand for, and it's about how big a certain unit is. And you can tell that from the number of credits. So 1 credit is equivalent to 10 learning hours. So 60 credits is equivalent to 600 learning hours. So you need to do 600 learning hours to get this award. That being said as well, the learning hours, that's not how long you need to spend on your assessments. That's not how long you need to spend doing observations or writing up statements. That includes the time it takes for you to be shown how to do the task, and it involves time of you completing the task to gain your competency. The first time you do a task, you're not going to be an expert in it. You need to do it a number of times over a period of time to be competent at it, and that is included within credits when we talk about learning hours. So it's not learning hours as in that's how long you have to spend in a class, or that's how long you have to spend on a review visit. that's how long you spend total doing all the tasks, or expected to do all the tasks for the units. So your digital applications SVQ can be broken down into two parts. So your first part is your mandatory units. You don't get a choice in these units. Everyone who's doing this award must complete these units to get the qualification. And the mandatory units total up to 36 credits. Okay, so that leaves 24 credits worth of optional units which you can choose from. So we will look at the framework in a later slide. We'll go through the units. It'll see on there their credit value, and when you're selecting optional units, you have to have a total of 24 plus. So you can have more if you want, but you must have at least 24 optional credits, and combined with your 36 mandatory units will give you the 60 total credits you need for that SVQ. The next component is your enhancements, so your enhancement units. And there's two groupings here that you have to do for your enhancement unit. The first is PC Passport. PC Passport's equivalent to 30 credits, and there's 4 parts to PC Passport. There's 2 options for it. Most people will do a classroom workshop that lasts a week, and that will cover, usually it's Microsoft Office, it will cover Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, database, and will also cover a collaborative technology. So something like Microsoft Teams or Trello or Slack, where you're completing tasks with other learners in the class using one of these collaborative technologies to allow you to work with someone else. The other option is to be able to certify it by completing tasks in the workplace, which are relevant to those units that we covered, or those softwares that we covered. So demonstrating your ability to complete advanced tasks on Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel database, or it doesn't have to be the Microsoft technologies. It could be using the Google Suite, OpenOffice, whatever technology that your organisation uses. You've then got the industry specific, so these are 10 credits at SCQF Level 5 or 6. 10 credits worth. That typically works out about 2 units, but it depends on the specific units you're choosing from, and that's also an enhancement unit. So those are units from a different framework, so it's units which aren't in the digital application framework but are in another framework you can choose to do. So you need specific to your organisation, specific to your role that you're doing. And then the last component is core skills. For this award, there's a number of core skills you have to complete, but there's 2 which need to be separately certified, which means you have to work towards. They're not already included in your mandatory units. The first is numeracy SCQF Level 5. The other is communication, also at SCQF Level 5. We'll speak about them in a bit more detail. We're going to go through each of these 3 sections one by one. The other core skills you get are embedded, so that means you don't have to actively work towards them. When you complete the mandatory units, that's enough in there to cover off those other core skill units. Okay, so let's have a look at the SVQ framework now. You can find this SVQ framework online by searching up on any search engine, and if you look for the SCQF Level 6 Diploma in Digital Applications Framework, you'll be able to find this online quite easily, or it may be provided to you. Looking at it, you'll see that the box at the top there outlines your mandatory units and your optional units which you choose from. Obviously you don't choose mandatory units. Group A is your mandatory units, so you must complete all those units which total up to 36 credits. If I go through some of them one by one, just to give you an idea of what's included or what you have to do to complete that unit. Developing personal and team effectiveness using IT3 is all about producing a personal development plan. It's about using technology, but using software to improve your performance in the workplace. Health and safety in IT and telecoms is about having an awareness of health and safety procedures which is relevant to your role. Understanding the potential of IT is a knowledge-based unit where you're asked to be able to demonstrate that you're aware of, understand 12 questions around what potential computers, IT using software has to improve your job, to improve the work flow, and to benefit your organisation as a whole. Information management is all about where you're saving files to, how they're backed up, how they're saved. Digital communications, it's about communications in the workplace but on digital formats. Network environments and optimising IT for system performance. So network environments is about a sort of basic understanding of different computer networks, how computers are all connected together, and optimize IT for system performance is all about things such as running antivirus, setting up your computer effectively to run, in some very basic troubleshooting should things go wrong with your computer. How do you fix it? How do you understand what's went wrong? So that's your mandatory units. Move on now to Group B. Group B is your optional units. So what I'd recommend here, I'll go through some of them to point some of them out and roughly what they're about. What you want to do here though is you want to look through this list and you want to pick units which are relevant to your job. So if you see a unit which stands out, think actually that's something I do quite a lot as part of my job, then that could be a good unit for you to select. You don't really want to pick units which aren't relevant to your job. Like I said, this is all about performance. You need to prove that you can perform these tasks in the workplace. So if it's not something that you really do as part of your job, it's not going to be a good unit for you to pick, because it'll be really, really difficult to get that evidence, to get authentic evidence that you actually complete that work in the workplace. So you want to pick units which are relevant to your role. The other thing I'd say when you're going through this is if you want to find out more about that unit, you can find the unit guides quite easily by searching up the SQE code into a search engine. So let's say you thought you might be interested in doing Project Management Software 3. So that first column there tells you the SQE code. So the SQE code for that unit is F9CY04. So you go into a search engine, you type in F9CY04, followed by a space, followed by SQA, SQA being the word and body. And if you search that, one of your top results will be a PDF file, and it's the unit guide. And in that unit guide, I'll show you what some of them look like later on. You'll be able to see the different criteria, so the different points you have to perform in the workplace, just to make sure that that is something that you're able to do and something that you're interested in being able to demonstrate. So I can give you a highlight of a bit of an understanding of what these units are about, but I'd recommend if there's things that you're interested in, look up these units online before you have your meeting with your assessor to select your optional units, and that way when you go into that meeting, your assessor will be asking about what you do as part of your role, what tasks you do, to try and align your job role to the best units that's most relevant to your role. But it could be helpful if you've already had a look at some of the units, and then that way, because there might be stuff you do as part of your job you're maybe just not that interested in, you don't see yourself progressing in that way, and there might be other units you think actually that's something I'm really interested in. I sort of just started doing it and I'd like to do more around that particular unit, so I'd rather do that one. And you'll have more of an understanding going into that meeting of what units you can do if you look this up beforehand. So let's have a wee start going through here. Say as well, you've got SCQF level on the end. There's the last two columns. You've got the SCQF level, and you've got the credit point. So when you're looking at totaling up the credits, make sure you're totaling up. That's the last column. It's not that second column, the level. It's the column of the credits, and that tells you, as I said before, how many learning hours are part of that unit. So first one, using Collaborative Technologies 3. Collaborative Technologies is any software, any computer application which you use, which allows you to work with other people as if you're sitting right next to them. They might be in a different office, you might be working from home, they might be working from home, and it allows you to work with them. So stuff like Microsoft Teams, Google Drive, Trello, Dropbox, you get stuff like Cisco Jabber, WhatsApp for Business, loads of different systems, but essentially allow you to share files, message, put comments in, work on the documents at the same time, share them out as well quite easily amongst different people or different teams. That's a collaborative technology. Setting up an IT system is about setting up a new system, so that's about installing software onto a computer. Counts as software 3, stuff like using Xero, using Sage. There's elements of Microsoft Dynamics, QuickBooks. There's a wide variety of different computer accounting software out there. Project management software, things like Oracle Primavera P6 or Microsoft Project. There are some smaller project management tools that are specific. I've heard of, for example, Xero projects, which is more to do with the finance side of things, but would also cover this project management software 3 unit. Website software 3 is about software used for the development of websites, desktop publishing software, used for creating things such as advertising leaflets, booklets, newsletters, that kind of thing. Multimedia software is about using any software that involves editing images, videos, any sort of interactive elements. The one that's often forgotten about with this unit is PowerPoint or presentation software. So if you're putting together presentations that's got videos in it, that's got images in it, sound in it, then that's a good unit for you. That could be a good one, multimedia software 3. You've got audio software 3 as well, which is about using audio editing software. Group B units continued. We've got video software 3, video stuff like Adobe Premiere would count there. Design software, that's more about sort of graphic design and image editing. You get imaging software 3, so that would be Adobe Photoshop would be good software if you use that, could be a good unit for you. Drawing and planning software, stuff like AutoCAD. Bespoke software 3, specialist software 3. Now you'll notice that the code there, BS3, they're the same code. These two units are pretty much the same in terms of criteria. So I'll explain. Specialist software is any kind of database system, essentially, that you use. And there's a wide variety of database systems that people might use as part of their job. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Could be a customer relationship management software. If you use a CRM system and you've got to update the notes, you've got to add customer information on there, add contact details. That would be, you could do that on specialist software, any database system. Could be accountancy software. Could be other software that you could actually cover other units with. That you could also use for specialist software if it's database system. So accountancy software, if you're inputting invoices into a database system, that would also count. Enterprise resource planning, ERP software, order management software, inventory management software, booking software, all these kind of database systems. You're inputting information into a database system, you're searching up information in a database system, you're pulling reports out of a database system, then that's specialist software 3 is a very good unit for that. It's quite a popular unit. The difference between specialist software and bespoke software, they are pretty much the same thing. Specialist software is something that's been purchased by your organisation that's available for other organisations to buy, whereas bespoke software is a database system which has been specially developed just for your organisation and couldn't be purchased by any other business organisation. So it's custom for your business. IT Telecom Security 2 is about having an awareness of security, so having passwords, updating passwords, saving things in the right place, having backups, that kind of thing, making information on the computer secure. Investigating, defining customer requirements for IT and Telecom Security 2 is about finding out, as it kind of says there on the unit, what customers need out of their IT systems and being able to identify what it is that they actually need, what software they require. Okay, so we're moving on now to the Group B units. So this is another Group B. So you can see here it tells you the number of units you can pick at the top there. So for Group B, optional units, you must complete 16 to 24 credits. You can do all of them. You can do all your credits, all your 24 credits from this Group B unit, or you could do a minimum of 16. So you need to do at least 16 from this group. Now, this next group is still part of Group B, but they're SCQF Level 5 units, so they're the level down. You'll see that the SCQF code here for the last ones have all been Level 6. This is the sort of level down from the unit above. So if you have a look at one of those units at the Group B SCQF Level 6, and you look at the unit guide and you find actually some of the stuff on there is a bit too advanced for what I'm currently doing in my role, you might want to have a look at the Level 5 unit. You'll find that they take some of the more advanced criteria, stuff you need to perform off of it, and it's at the level, just the level down. Most of these units, the same name, so I'm not going to run through them. It's the same sort of units, it's just the level down. Thing to mention here is you can't do the same unit at different levels. So if you do Specialist Software 3, you couldn't do Specialist Software 2 because it's the same unit, it's just a slightly lower level. So there's rules of combination here that you can't do the same unit at different levels. Right, Group C units. So you want to complete up to 8 credits from this group. So you can do no credits if you do all your 24 credits from the Group B, but you could choose to do a maximum of 8 credits from this group. Data modelling, web development is your two choices here. Data modelling is about an understanding of how databases are designed. So how databases are designed, what's an entity, what's an attribute, what's a relationship, and how you design and lay out a database before you sort of put it together, and an understanding of any special software, any database system that you're using, how it's sort of designed and set up, and where information goes, which can be very relevant and useful if you're using a database system every day. Web development is as it sounds, developing websites. Okay, so for those that framework that we just went through, sort of takeaway action for this is to have a look at the framework, have a look at the units, find units which you think are interesting to you and are relevant to your role for the meeting you're going to have with your assessor. And at least then when you're going into that meeting, you've got some awareness of the sorts of units you might want to do. It is more conversation with your assessor to find out what's relevant to your role, and with your employer to see what sort of tasks you're going to be given as part of your role. But at least you've got some awareness into that meeting of the sorts of units you could complete. Now if you look at the unit guides, we've got the IT unit guide. So a lot of the unit guides look like this. It just explains, so when you look it up, you know what information's on there and what you're looking at. So at the top of it has the level it's at, has the name, has unit code, and has the number of credits. So this is 4 credits at SCQF Level 6 and the unit specialist software 3. It's got a description of the unit, so it explains what the unit's about, and it gives you examples of the sorts of software. So like I said, for specialist software, logistics planning applications, computer-aided design, computer animation applications, music composition, editing applications, CRM systems, ERP, order management, all the rest of it counts towards this unit. The first column there is outcomes, so all your criteria are grouped into outcomes, learning outcomes, and for this unit there are 3 learning outcomes, which is then further subdivided into either skills or techniques, it says on there, but what they are is performance points, performance criteria, and knowledge and understanding criteria. So that's how it's broken up. So you've got an outcome. You don't have to produce evidence that shows you're relevant. You can perform that outcome. You're looking for evidence that you can perform the performance criteria. So it's the second column that you're looking for evidence for. So you're reading through this. You want to read through the performance, the skills and techniques column. Make sure that you are able to demonstrate that you can complete all of those tasks, or tasks which will cover those points. And then for knowledge and understanding, that is, as it sounds as well, your knowledge. The difference between performance and knowledge is performance you have to demonstrate you can perform that task. Knowledge is about being able to demonstrate you understand, you know certain procedures, and that you're able to evaluate and understand when's best used this software, when's best used other software. Depends on what the question's asking for. And then down the bottom, you'll see that anything that's in bold in the criteria there is explained in full down the bottom. So some of the stuff is in bold, and then further down at the bottom of the page it explains what that means, gives you a definition of it, and it gives you some summary notes on the units and the best way to go about gathering evidence. What you're really looking for there is the criteria to see, do I perform these tasks in the workplace, or will I be performing these tasks in the next sort of 3 to 6 months. CFA unit specifications, so sometimes this is what the unit specifications look like, or the unit guides. You've got the name up the top, a wee bit of an overview description, and then you've got 2 columns, and the outcomes are in bold. So it's just a slightly different way of putting that information onto the page. Okay, so let's move on to your next component for this modern apprenticeship, which is the core skills section. So your core skills are fundamental practical skills. They're skills and abilities which employers expect employees to demonstrate in a wide variety of roles. So essentially, if I use a bit of a example from high school, so when you sat your English qualification, you might have typed up an essay on a computer. So the qualification subject that you're doing, and the qualification you get, is maybe your National 5 English qualification. But when you were completing that English qualification, you typed up this essay on a computer, which involved opening up a computer application, Microsoft Word, typing up information onto it, formatting it all correctly, saving it in the right place, and printing it off. So when you studied that subject, you were able to demonstrate an ability to use IT technology or computer technology to write up your essay and do those things. So your core skills are these fundamental practical skills that are part of any SQA qualification. That's where they come from, and if you look at the last page of your SQA results, you'll find that you've got them, a lot of them there already. Okay, so if you already have your core skills at the level that's required for this award, we do what's called RPL, so that's recognised prior learning, and we can see you've already got them, so you don't have to do anything additional to get them. The only people that won't apply to are those who haven't sat qualifications in Scotland, in which case you can't do recognised prior learning. You'd have to complete those units. So for this award for digital applications, you need to have the following core skills. So you need to have communication at SCQF level 5 or above, numeracy at SCQF level 5 or above, problem solving at SCQF level 5 or above, ICT at SCQF level 6 or above, and working with others SCQF Level 5 or above. Of all of those core skills, you only have to separately certify numeracy and numeracy and communication. So it's only numeracy and communication that you have to separately certify. All of those other core skills are embedded, which means when you complete the mandatory units, you're going to cover all the points that are within those core skill units anyway, so you don't have to do them again. But for communication and numeracy, they're not embedded, so you have to add those units to your portfolio and put evidence into those units to prove you can complete that to the required level. Okay, but that is only if you've not already got it. So if you've got it already, you don't have to do those numeracy and communications. If you've got communication at level SCQF level 5, you don't have to do it again. But if you don't have it, you would have to do it to that level, and it's not embedded, those two. You've got to add in those units and work towards them. So if we have a look at the communication core skill first, there are 3 parts to this core skill which you have to be able to demonstrate you can do. So the first one is a reading assignment. So this is where you're required to be able to read a report, produce a summary highlighting all of the main points. You then also have a writing assignment to do. So this is usually covered through Office applications a lot of the time, where you produce a business report or produce some sort of report on Word. But if not, it can be evidence through any workplace task that you do that requires you to write up a report, to write up a document, to write up some information. Could potentially even be a communication like an email. And then you've got a speaking assignment. So this can be covered in the Office applications class when you produce a presentation and deliver it to your small team. It could also be part of Multimedia 2. There's a bit of overlap with Multimedia 2. So if you do Multimedia 2 and you deliver your presentation, you've done it in presentation software and you've delivered it, that would be evidence for it, or any sort of time in the workplace where you've had to speak in front of, it could be a small team, and if you get evidence, either an observation or a statement or something, testimony around that, that can be evidence that you can communicate verbally. We move on now to the numeracy core skill. This is the one that a lot of learners are a little bit apprehensive about with numeracy. But it's important to point out that numeracy isn't maths. So we'll look at the key points down the bottom there first. Numeracy is about the practical application of maths in the workplace. So it's not about learning big formulas, all that kind of thing. It's just about being able to apply numeracy skills in the workplace. The assignments are not assessed under exam conditions. Okay, they're guarded in the same way that any evidence for your portfolio is put together. So it's not exam conditions. It's just, have you been able to do, for example, maybe a spreadsheet. A lot of the time you get evidence from spreadsheets. If you've run a report from your software, you've got a spreadsheet, you've put in some formulas, you've totaled some columns up. That is evidence that you can demonstrate that you've performed some numeracy tasks in the workplace, to give you an idea. And the use of calculators is permitted. Spreadsheet software as well is permitted, and you could use the spreadsheet software to actually perform the calculations. That still demonstrates your ability with numeracy. The numeracy core skill is split into 2 sort of tasks or assignments or components. The first is graphical calculations. You've got to be able to understand and interpret different types of graphs, pie charts, bar graphs, line graphs, or rates of change. That would be like a line graph. And you've also got to be able to perform numerical calculations. So that is notation, and you can use whole numbers, you can use decimals, you can use percentages, fractions and ratios. You can perform basic arithmetic operations, so adding, subtracting, dividing and multiplying. That you can round numbers to a specific point or to a specific figure, and you can also use positive and negative numbers as well. Okay, so enhancement unit. So we'll talk about now the third and final component of digital applications, which is your enhancement unit. So there are 2 parts to this enhancement unit for this award. So first is your Office applications. So you do PC Passport or Office applications class, which will cover word processing, spreadsheets, presentations and database. Alternatively, you may be doing 4 separate units in the workplace where you are using those 4 different types of software, and you can demonstrate that you can do the advanced sort of functions within each of those. That is a total of 24 credits for those units. And then you've got your industry specific. So your industry specific unit is a unit from a different framework. The idea behind this is to make this qualification broad, and it should be a unit which is relevant to your role from a different framework. It's used to add breadth and to learners' competence. Units should be relevant to learners' industry, and there must be 10 credits of this. Typically this works out 2 units, but that depends on the size of the units. You might pick a particularly small unit, in which case you might have to do 3 units, but it's more about the credits rather than the number of units. The units which you pick must be SCQF level 5 or 6. There's a wide variety of units you can complete, pretty much any units. Most learners on this award will pick units from business administration, digital marketing, or IT on those frameworks. You might want to have a look at those frameworks and the units on there. But like I said, there's a wide variety of units you could do, so it's not really useful to have a list of them. It's more about finding out what sort of role you do, and then your assessor can sort of identify a number of options for you that's relevant to your role, rather than giving you a massive list of everything and leaving it for you to work out what it is you want to do. But you've got to do those 10 credits at SCQF level 5 or 6. Perfect. So thanks for listening to that. That was a bit of an overview, an introduction to this digital applications framework. The main takeaway from it, though, is to be able to have a look at that framework and have a look at optional units which you might want to select in preparation for your visit or your call with your assessor when you're going to pick out those units. So thanks a lot for listening.